The television courtroom had never witnessed such pure, unfiltered disrespect toward one of America's most respected judges. Karen Peterson, a 42-year-old self-proclaimed body positivity influencer who weighed 340 pounds and wore her activism like a weapon, sat in Judge Judy's courtroom with the kind of smug confidence that could only come from years of scamming people without real consequences. Her perfectly styled purple muumuu and designer accessories screamed entitlement as she clutched a folder full of printed Instagram comments like they were legal documents. Across from her sat Sarah Mitchell, a 28-year-old fitness trainer whose hands trembled as she held the contract that was supposed to change her life, not destroy it. What happened in the next 60 seconds would become the most viral age discrimination moment in internet history, shared over 95 million times across every social media platform imaginable, with the hashtag #RespectYourElders trending for 8 consecutive days. But here's what makes this story absolutely insane. Karen didn't just lose her case. She didn't just get embarrassed on national television. What Judge Judy did to her in those 60 seconds was so devastatingly brutal, so legally precise, that it ended Karen's entire influencer career, exposed her as a serial scammer, and made her the most hated woman in America overnight. Before we show you the exact moment when Karen mocked Judge Judy's age to her face and triggered the most legendary takedown ever captured on camera, make sure you hit that like button if you believe that people who disrespect their elders deserve real consequences. Subscribe so you never miss these explosive courtroom moments where entitled bullies finally meet someone who won't tolerate their behavior. Trust me, what you're about to witness will restore your faith in justice and prove that karma is not only real, but it has perfect timing. Sarah Mitchell had never wanted to be in a courtroom. After years of building her fitness training business from the ground up, she had finally landed what seemed like a dream client. Karen Peterson contacted her through Instagram, claiming she wanted premium personal training to document her fitness journey for her 500,000 followers. Sarah created a customized 6-month program with twice-weekly sessions, specialized equipment, and constant availability. The contract was clear: $40,000 for the complete premium package. Karen signed without hesitation, bragging about how this would prove trainers could accommodate all body types. What Sarah didn't know was that she had just become Karen's latest victim in a pattern of predatory behavior targeting small business owners who couldn't fight back against false discrimination claims and social media intimidation. Karen Peterson had barely lifted a finger to honor that $40,000 contract. In the 6 months following the agreement, she attended exactly 3 training sessions out of the 72 that were scheduled. 3. On the rare occasion she did show up, Karen spent more time taking selfies for Instagram than actually exercising, complaining that the equipment was designed to humiliate larger bodies and that Sarah's coaching style was rooted in thin privilege. When Sarah politely tried to encourage her or modify exercises to accommodate her fitness level, Karen would snap back with accusations of fat phobia and discrimination. After the 3rd session, Karen stopped showing up entirely, ignoring Sarah's 23 phone calls and 17 emails asking about rescheduling. When Sarah finally tracked her down through social media, she discovered that Karen had been posting videos from expensive restaurants, luxury spas, and beach vacations during the time she was supposed to be training. But the real nightmare began when Sarah sent a professional letter requesting either Karen's commitment to the remaining sessions or a prorated refund for the sessions Karen refused to attend. Karen's response was swift and devastating. She didn't just refuse to honor the contract. She launched a full-scale social media attack claiming that Sarah's gym was a fat-phobic nightmare that had caused her severe emotional trauma. Within 48 hours, Karen had posted 15 TikTok videos, each one more dramatic than the last, crying about how Sarah had body-shamed her, called her disgusting, and created an unsafe environment for plus-size clients. None of it was true, but Karen's 500,000 followers didn't care about truth. They cared about outrage. The videos went viral, accumulating millions of views and thousands of comments threatening to boycott Sarah's business, leave 1-star reviews, and report her to every fitness certification board in the country. Sarah's phone exploded with hate messages. Her business social media accounts were flooded with accusations of discrimination. 3 major clients canceled their contracts out of fear of being associated with someone labeled as fatphobic. Sarah's reputation that she had spent years building was being destroyed in real time by someone who had scammed her out of $40,000 and was now demanding more. Because Karen didn't stop at destroying Sarah's reputation. She filed a lawsuit demanding a full refund of the $40,000 plus an additional $40,000 in emotional distress damages. Her claims stated that Sarah had discriminated against her based on her weight, created a hostile training environment, and caused psychological harm that required therapy. The legal papers were filled with screenshots of Karen's own social media posts describing her alleged trauma, photos of her crying, and testimonials from her followers who had never even met Sarah but were convinced she was a monster. For Sarah, this wasn't just a financial catastrophe that threatened to bankrupt her small business. It was a complete betrayal of everything she believed in. She had genuinely wanted to help Karen achieve her goals, had created a judgment-free environment, and had gone above and beyond the contracted services. Now she was being painted as a villain by someone who had weaponized a real social justice movement for personal profit. Sarah knew she had to fight back, but going up against an influencer with 500,000 followers felt like facing an army alone. That's when she decided to take Karen to Judge Judy's courtroom, hoping that someone would finally see through the lies. The Judge Judy courtroom buzzed with its usual electric energy as cameras rolled and the audience settled into their seats, expecting another routine small claims dispute to unfold before their eyes. Production assistants made their final checks while the bailiff took his position and Judge Judy reviewed her notes one last time. Nobody in that room had any clue they were about to witness television history in the making. Karen strutted into the courtroom like a conquering hero returning from war. Her bright purple muumuu was freshly pressed, her makeup applied perfectly for the cameras, and her leather portfolio clutched tight with what she believed was her secret weapon, dozens of printed social media posts from her followers claiming Sarah was a fatphobic monster. She shot confident glances at the cameras, already imagining herself going viral for all the right reasons, her face beaming with the kind of arrogance that comes from never facing real consequences. Judge Judy watched this entrance with the calm patience of a predator studying its prey, knowing exactly how this performance was going to end. What Karen didn't know was that Judge Judy had already spotted 14 different lies in her initial paperwork before Karen even walked through the courtroom doors, and she was preparing to make an example out of this fake activist that would echo through television history forever. Judge Judy opened the case with her signature no-nonsense approach, her voice cutting through the courtroom air like a scalpel. "Miss Peterson, you're suing Miss Mitchell for $80,000 total, claiming she discriminated against you based on your weight and caused you emotional distress. Tell me exactly what happened." It was a simple question, the kind Judge Judy had asked thousands of times before. But Karen's response immediately signaled that this case was going to be anything but ordinary. Karen didn't just answer the question. She launched into a theatrical performance that would have made Broadway actors cringe. "Your Honor, this woman completely destroyed my mental health and my trust in the fitness industry through her blatant fat phobia and discrimination," she began, her voice dripping with fake emotion and rehearsed outrage. But then came the first red flag. Instead of sticking to facts, Karen started editorializing, rolling her eyes dramatically whenever Sarah tried to speak and adding commentary like, "As anyone who understands systemic oppression would know, and obviously she has no respect for bodies that don't fit her narrow beauty standards." Judge Judy's eyebrows raised slightly, the first warning sign that experienced viewers knew meant trouble was brewing. "Miss Peterson," Judge Judy interrupted, her tone still professional but with an edge sharp enough to cut glass, "I didn't ask for a lecture on social justice. I asked what happened. Tell me about the training sessions you attended." The audience could feel the shift in energy like the moment before lightning strikes. But Karen, blinded by her own arrogance and years of getting away with these schemes, completely missed the warning. Instead of backing down, Karen doubled down on her disrespect. She let out an exaggerated sigh, the kind reserved for dealing with incompetent people who just don't get it, and said, "Well, if you'll let me finish my story, Your Honor, I attended as many sessions as I could handle given the hostile environment she created. Maybe 10 or 12 sessions where I felt safe enough to even walk through the door." The courtroom went quiet, but Judge Judy's expression revealed she knew something Karen didn't. "How many sessions were in your contract, Miss Peterson?" Judge Judy asked calmly. Karen barely glanced at her papers. 72 sessions over 6 months, but the number doesn't matter when you're being traumatized. Judge Judy leaned forward slightly. "The number always matters in my courtroom." And here's where everything started to unravel. Judge Judy pulled out a document from her folder, her reading glasses perched perfectly on her nose. "Miss Peterson, I have the gym's attendance records right here. Electronic check-in logs, security camera timestamps, and session sign-off sheets. Would you like to revise your answer about how many sessions you actually attended?" Karen's confidence flickered for just a moment, but she recovered quickly, her voice rising with indignation. "Those records are probably fabricated. She probably altered them to make me look bad. This is exactly the kind of thing fatphobic people do to discredit plus-size individuals." Judge Judy's eyes narrowed into the kind of death stare that had made grown adults apologize on national television for decades. "Miss Peterson, Are you accusing this court of accepting fraudulent evidence? Karen realized she had stepped too far but couldn't back down now. I'm just saying, Your Honor, that with all due respect, you're from a different generation. The words hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. The audience collectively held its breath. Karen continued, apparently not reading the room at all. You're too old to understand modern body positivity and health at every size. Maybe if you understood what it's like to be a woman in 2025 instead of 1925, you'd see how your outdated views are enabling discrimination. The silence that followed was deafening. 5 full seconds of absolute quiet where you could hear hearts beating. The audience gasped audibly, some people standing up in shock, hands covering their mouths in disbelief. Sarah Mitchell's eyes went wide, knowing Karen had just made a catastrophic mistake. Even Karen's support friend shifted uncomfortably in her seat, suddenly very interested in the floor. Judge Judy's face transformed from stern to ice cold, her jaw set in a way that veterans of her show recognized as the moment before total destruction. Excuse me, Judge Judy said, her voice dangerously quiet. What did you just say about my age? If you think Judge Judy is about to absolutely obliterate this disrespectful Karen, smash that like button right now and comment respect your elders below. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens when entitled influencers meet the consequences they've been avoiding their whole lives. Trust me, the next 60 seconds will be the most satisfying thing you've seen all year. Karen tried to backtrack, her voice suddenly losing its confident edge. I just meant that, generational differences in understanding modern social movements and body positivity activism. Judge Judy raised her hand, cutting Karen off mid-sentence with the kind of authority that made even the most arrogant people fall silent. Stop talking right now. The sharpness in her voice made Karen physically recoil in her chair. Judge Judy opened her folder completely, spreading documents across her bench like a prosecutor preparing for the kill shot. Miss Peterson, since my old brain apparently can't comprehend your modern activism, let me show you what this elderly judge discovered during her investigation. First, these are the actual attendance records from Sarah Mitchell's gym. You didn't attend 10 or 12 sessions as you claimed under oath just moments ago. You attended exactly 3 sessions. 3 sessions out of 72 contracted sessions over 6 months. Karen's face began to lose color, the confident mask she had worn into the courtroom starting to crack at the edges. Those records might not show all the times I tried to come but felt too unsafe, she stammered weakly. Judge Judy wasn't finished. She pulled out another stack of papers, her voice growing colder with each word. Here are printouts from your own Instagram and TikTok accounts, Miss Peterson. On March 15th, a day you were scheduled for training, you posted yourself at an all-you-can-eat buffet with the caption "Living my best life and eating whatever I want because I don't need anyone's approval." On April 3rd, another scheduled training day, you were at a luxury spa in Scottsdale posting about self-care and treating yourself. On April 28th, you were on a beach in Miami during 3 consecutive scheduled sessions. The courtroom erupted in murmurs and gasps as the audience began to understand the depth of Karen's deception. Judge Judy held up her hand for silence and continued. But here's what really interests this old judge who apparently doesn't understand modern life. She pulled out a printout that made Karen's eyes go wide with panic. This is a TikTok video you posted just 2 months ago that you apparently forgot about when you decided to sue Miss Mitchell. Should we watch it together? The bailiff wheeled over a monitor, and Judge Judy played the video for the entire courtroom to see. On screen, Karen appeared in her home, laughing and talking to the camera with the kind of casual confidence people have when they think they're speaking only to friends. The video showed Karen saying, "Okay, so here's my strategy for all my body-positive warriors out there. You sign up for these expensive training packages, go to like 2 or 3 sessions max, then you start documenting everything with your phone. You claim they said something fatphobic, that the environment was hostile, that you felt discriminated against. Then boom, you threaten to blast them on social media and sue for emotional distress. Most of these small business owners will settle immediately because they're terrified of being canceled. I've made over $100,000 in the last 3 years doing this, and I'm just getting started." The courtroom exploded. Audience members shouted in anger and disbelief. Sarah Mitchell broke down in tears, finally vindicated after months of being called a liar and a bigot. Karen's support friend literally stood up and walked out of the courtroom, wanting nothing to do with what was happening. Karen herself looked like she had been struck by lightning, her mouth opening and closing but no words coming out, sweat pouring down her face as she realized the magnitude of what had just been revealed. Judge Judy let the chaos continue for a few seconds before slamming her gavel down with explosive force. "Order in this courtroom." She fixed Karen with a stare that could melt steel. Miss Peterson, you just watched yourself confess to running a scam operation targeting small business owners. You weaponized a legitimate social justice movement, body positivity, which actually helps real people struggling with real discrimination, and you turned it into your personal ATM machine. You are a predator who preys on people's fear of being labeled as bigots. You destroy reputations, bankrupt honest business owners, and make it harder for people with legitimate discrimination claims to be taken seriously. Karen tried one last desperate defense, her voice cracking with tears that were now very real. That video was taken out of context. I was joking. It was satire. I didn't actually mean it. Judge Judy's response was swift and merciless. You were joking about committing fraud? You were being satirical about extortion? Miss Peterson, I've been a judge for over 30 years. I've seen every kind of liar, every type of con artist, and every brand of scammer that exists. You are not special. You are not a victim. You are a criminal who thought she was clever enough to game the system. Judge Judy pulled out yet another document, this one clearly official with multiple stamps and seals. What you also don't know, Miss Peterson, is that my production team contacted the other gyms and trainers you've targeted over the past 3 years. We have 7 other cases just like this one. 7 other small business owners you scammed using the exact same playbook. Settlements totaling over $180,000 that you extracted through fraud and intimidation. Karen was openly crying now, her designer muumuu soaked with sweat, her hands shaking uncontrollably as the full weight of her exposure crashed down on her. Judge Judy continued, her voice carrying the weight of absolute moral authority. You mocked my age, Miss Peterson. You said I was too old to understand your modern world. But let me tell you something that my decades of experience have taught me. Scammers like you have existed in every generation. The tactics change, the language evolves, but the basic con remains the same. You find vulnerable targets, you exploit their fears, and you take their money while playing the victim. This isn't modern or progressive. This is ancient and pathetic. And now, let me give you my ruling, and trust me when I say this old judge understands justice perfectly well. Judge Judy straightened her robe and leaned forward with the intensity that had made her a legend for over 3 decades. Her voice rang out clear and decisive, cutting through the tension in the courtroom like a blade. Miss Peterson, not only are you not getting a single penny from Sarah Mitchell, you are hereby ordered to pay her the full $40,000 you owe under the contract you signed and refused to honor. The gavel came down with thunderous force. But I'm not done. Karen's sobbing intensified as Judge Judy continued. You are also ordered to pay Miss Mitchell an additional $40,000 in punitive damages for fraud, defamation, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. That's $80,000 total. Furthermore, I am forwarding this case to the District Attorney's Office for criminal prosecution. Your own video confession shows clear evidence of wire fraud and extortion. You're looking at serious prison time, Miss Peterson. The courtroom erupted in applause, a rare occurrence in Judge Judy's court, but the audience couldn't contain themselves. Sarah Mitchell collapsed into tears of relief, her body shaking as months of stress and fear finally released. Karen sat frozen, unable to process the complete destruction of her life happening in real time. Her face was a mess of running mascara and genuine terror as the reality sank in. She tried to speak, her voice barely a whisper. Please, Your Honor, I have nothing. I can't pay that. I'll lose everything. Judge Judy's expression didn't soften even slightly. You should have thought about that before you built a career on destroying innocent people. Maybe you can sell some of those designer clothes you bought with money you stole from hardworking business owners. Case dismissed. Get out of my courtroom. The final gavel slam echoed like a gunshot. Karen had to be helped out of her chair by the bailiff, her legs barely able to support her weight as she stumbled toward the exit. The audience gave Sarah a standing ovation as she hugged her lawyer, finally vindicated after being called a liar and a bigot for months. The cameras captured every second of Karen's humiliation, every stumbling step, every sob, every moment of the complete annihilation of the arrogant influencer who thought she could mock a judge and get away with fraud.